Guys, we'll now move into our 2021 NFL Draft quarterback rankings.
I am not a huge fan of Trey Lance. Mike and Chase both know this.
Kellen Mond is going to be the sleeper of the draft at the quarterback position.
What is your list looking like? Is it true? Do you actually have Trevor Lawrence at 6? Hello, everyone. Welcome to the WNP podcast. I'm your host, Mike Mitchelson, and joining me today, as always, my co-host, Chase Crawshaw. Chase, how we doing today?
Doing pretty swell. Super excited for this episode. I've been looking forward to it all, weekend leading up to today. It's going to be some good discussion, I'm thinking. It's probably one of the more excited episodes how do I want to word this? One of the most excited. I'm excited. Let's put it that way. Jeez, I cannot word it.
There you go. And one of the reasons I'm so very excited is we brought in Alec King. And Alec, I'll ask you how you're doing in just a sec. Why'd we bring him in? Well, he tends to get under Chase's skin, and that's the best part. So,
because he's an idiot.
Alec, how are you doing on this lovely Tuesday afternoon?
I am doing great. Very excited to be here.
Yeah, I can't wait because today we are doing our NFL Draft QB rankings. So a lot of conversation have been happening around these quarterbacks, and Chris Sims put out a list recently that blew up the internet. Everyone was like, oh my gosh, you're crazy. You don't have Trevor Lawrence 1. You've got Fields and Lance at 5 and 6 respectively. How is that happening? This is crazy. And we decided, you know what? We're going to give our own QB rankings. I did a lot of tape watching last night, gentlemen, and I'll be honest, it made me not want to do this episode. I know that sounds weird, but there were things that I was going into last night, thoughts I had going into last night watching tape, and some people surprised me, I'll be honest, and I don't know if my rankings are even right now. They're subject to change, I'll say that. But guys, we got to start first with some of the bigger news. Dak Prescott, he gets a big deal, 4 years, $160 million. You can throw out the Russell Wilson rumors out the door. I want to get your thoughts on that. What do you guys think?
I don't think he deserves to be the second highest paid quarterback in football right now. I think I've talked about it on previous podcasts that, obviously he's their franchise guy, but I don't even think he's a top 5 quarterback right now. He's looked solid, but then again, he's also had an amazing O-line, great receivers, one of the best running backs in football. You throw him on a mediocre team with a not so good offense, he'd be garbage. Wouldn't be doing what he's doing right now. So I don't like the signing personally, but they wanted to go get their quarterback for the future. Don't want to have to try and rebuild anymore. So it makes sense, but I think he's paid too much.
Yeah, I gotta agree with those sentiments. It's a high dollar. He's a quarterback you can win with, sure. And he's got talent. He's a deserving starting NFL quarterback. There's no denying that. But he's not someone who's gonna elevate your team's game. He's not gonna be a complete game changer. He can be efficient because he has the great tools around him. It's a fine signing nowadays to get a quarterback. You got to pay him that money anyway. As much as I'm not a big fan of that because not everybody's worth all this money. He's getting close to Patrick Mahomes territory with his yearly salary. It is what it is though. I had a feeling this was going to be happening. I didn't think it was going to be for this much money. I thought it was going to be 35 million range, not necessarily up to 40s. But the Cowboys, they get to stress less about the quarterback position and then build around them. Maybe they can build a winning team for once.
Yeah, I was surprised. I thought with the injury and with Russ saying that he would go to the Cowboys, I thought Dak lost all of his leverage. Turns out that's not the case as he got his big deal. It makes sense, though, because when Andy Dalton came in, that team just well, that team wasn't good. I'll leave it at that because, my goodness, they've got all the weapons. They've got a good offensive line. It's not the best in the league anymore. However, it's better than the Bengals, and that's all you can ask for. But yeah, it makes sense. So good on the Cowboys. We'll see what Dak can do coming back from a gruesome injury. Hopefully it all goes well. One thing I did want to bring up, Chris Brown in Dynasty, he thinks that he can get at least a first-round pick this year for Dak Prescott. Your guys' thoughts on that?
No.
Absolutely not. No, not at all.
And Chris, if you're listening, I just got to say.
Oh, he listens. He listens.
I thought it was a little comical, honestly, when you said that you're looking for at least a first. I sent a gag trade, James White for Dak Prescott. But obviously, I'm not going to send anything more than that because I've got Justin Herbert and Deshaun Watson. But yeah, I don't see anyone sending that to Dak Prescott just because he got his new deal. If he got, like, I don't know, Julio and Mike Evans to come in, maybe. But just a new deal doesn't change that for me. All right, let's move on to some trade talk. 2 trades involving offensive linemen. The first one we'll talk about is Tennessee and Miami, as Tennessee sends Isaiah Wilson and a 2022 7th-round pick to Miami for a 2021 7th-round pick. Crazy that a first-round pick from last year can get traded and you're not really even getting anything back, just moving up a 7th from next year to this year.
It really was the year from hell for Isaiah Wilson. Everything went as bad as it could have. He had off-field issues. He couldn't stay on the field when he wasn't having any issues. Everything just kept piling up one after another. A change of scenery is really what's needed. He was someone who was taken with such high draft pedigree. You think you can get at least a little bit back from him, even with such an atrocious season going for him. But whatever, you cut your losses, you move on. You gotta do what you gotta do sometimes. Maybe he can get the second opportunity and make something out of it.
Coming from a Titans fan, I mean, after the Lions, of course, it hurts a little bit because I was kind of excited for them to get some more help on their O-line, and I did like Isaiah Wilson, but he's just a liability. Like, not even like I'm sure the skills are still there, but when it comes to personality, like that definitely is not the type of person that Mike Vrabel would want on his team. So I definitely understand why they wanted to ship him out. I kind of wish that maybe they got a little bit more because the dude's still super young. Obviously, he showed he had talent when he was in college, and now the Dolphins are adding him along with their, I think, Austin Jackson, and I don't remember the other offensive lineman they drafted last year, but I think if Wilson can live up to his original drafted potential, Miami could have one of the best young O-lines in the league, which I definitely think is something that they could use. So at the end of the day, it definitely makes sense, and I think Miami definitely did make a good decision in the long run for their team.
Yeah, I agree. And I love Brian Flores. I hope that he can help change things for Isaiah Wilson because, like Chase said, like Alex said, he has struggled. Not a great character guy. Hasn't really been one to hit the gym often, stay in shape, be ready for the games. So hopefully Brian Flores can turn that around. The last trade we'll talk about, Trent Brown going back to the Patriots. That's where he had his really big breakout. Trent Brown gets traded for a 5th-round pick with a 7th-round pick packaged with him going to the Patriots.
Yeah, it's it's a pretty decent trade for the Patriots. I would say you're getting he's a quality offensive lineman. You're not giving up a whole lot of draft capital for him, so why not do it, right? This Patriots team trying to bounce back from a kind of really abysmal year last year, at least compared to standards for them. So you bringing in some familiar faces, trying to bring back the old type of offense you had when Brady was still there. I get it, it makes sense. We'll see if they can do it. I feel like they're gonna have some trouble, especially since I don't think they're gonna be able to find a quarterback.
My big thing is I think that Trent Brown deserved a little bit more than that. Like, especially for a team like the Bengals, like with you, Mike. I think that you probably would have been happy if the Bengals traded maybe even a 4th-round pick to get a guy like Trent Brown, because obviously he's going to start on the Bengals O-line and maybe even be their best offensive lineman. So I think that there could have been better options out there that the Raiders could have gotten a lot more, because I still believe in him. I know that last year he missed, I think, 11 games, something like that. Because of injury and the COVID list, but that doesn't deny that he still has the talent. Still, obviously, would probably start on the majority of the teams in the NFL. So I don't really understand this one personally, but good on the Patriots.
And he's just a monster. I think he's like 6'7", 350 or something crazy like that. He's huge. But we'll now move on to the franchise tag tracker. Hey everyone, Mike here. Sorry to interrupt. I just wanted to come on as the show was recorded prior to the Tuesday 4 p.m. franchise tag deadline, so we don't have everyone here. However, the only big names I think that we really missed was the fact that the Bengals decided not to franchise tag Carl Lawson or William Jackson. And as a Bengals fan, I would be absolutely remiss if I did not talk about it. So, just very quickly, I have to say I am incredibly disappointed. I don't know if it's because I'm a big Carl Lawson guy. I have been ever since he was at Auburn, or if it's because they let their best defensive lineman and their best cornerback go. William Jackson and Carl Lawson are both going to walk in free agency. Is there a chance that they come back on extensions? Sure. But do I have any hope at all that that's going to happen? Absolutely not. I think both are gone. And at this point, the defense, aside from Jesse Bates, was pretty putrid. Our defensive coordinator is terrible. And we just let two of our best defensive players go. So we better stack up in the draft and in free agency on the offense, because the only way we're going to win games is if we're putting up 30, 40 points a game. So surround Burrow, I guess. That's really all I can say. Incredibly disappointed Cincinnati Bengal fan here in post. So let's get back to the show. Sorry, had to interrupt real quick. A couple names here, and I think we also got to talk about a name in Detroit, as they decided they're not going to tag their number one wide receiver. But before we get into that, the Denver Broncos tagged Justin Simmons, safety. The Carolina Panthers tagged Taylor Moton. That one really hurt me as a Bengals fan. I was hoping that we could have possibly got a shot at him in free agency. Not going to be the case. Marcus May tagged by the New York Jets. There was some conversation there that maybe that situation wasn't going to be happening anymore. Marcus May doesn't seem very happy. Obviously, they got rid of his best buddy, Jamal Adams, and he decided, I want some more money. They give him the tag, so what are you going to do? The Giants, Leonard Williams, Washington football team, Brandon Scherf, Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Chris Godwin. That's a big one. Chase predicted that one. Alec, you're a big fan of Chris Godwin. What were your thoughts on that?
I honestly wanted him to go somewhere else, mainly because obviously Brady just won the Super Bowl, still has talent, but I think he's going to, not a very steady decline, but I think he is going to start declining, and I want Godwin to do the best for his career, and I don't think a franchise tag is that. I wanted him to go somewhere, sign that long-term deal, stay somewhere for a long time. But, at the end of the day, that they're still going to be one of the best offenses in football, so I think he'll still be able to show off his talent there.
So it doesn't surprise me at all, as I called it, that would be happening. This is Tom Brady's favorite target. It's someone he's built for a Tom Brady type of offense. Sure, Godwin, he wants to go get paid, and he can go somewhere else and maybe command more targets than he's going to get in Tampa, because Tom Brady likes to move the ball around. But regardless, Tom Brady gets his top guy. He's going to get a good payday for a year, and I guarantee you next offseason he signs a big deal, whether it's with the Bucs or somewhere else.
Yeah, for sure. I was hoping as a Chris Godwin owner that he would go elsewhere, get a better position, more targets. That's not the case. So now I've got Mike Evans and Chris Godwin on the same team on my same dynasty team. Not happy about that. But we now move on. Cam Robinson, offensive tackle. A little bit of a surprise there to get tagged by the Jags. But Brendan and Trevor Lawrence, you need all the offensive line help that you can get. I think that I would say all of us were a little bit surprised, but at the same time, who else were they going to tag? But I kind of want to move on from him and talk about Kenny Golladay. Came out today. He's not getting tagged. I'm sure you both Lions fans are a little bit disappointed in that.
I didn't really think that we were going to keep him this season. I think if we did tag him, we would have traded him at the draft or before the season started, something like that, and just get something out of it other than a comp pick. But, I love Golladay, and obviously the Lions are really in a rebuild, and Galladay's a lot older than a lot of people realize, so if he can go somewhere and be a team's number one receiver and actually contend, then good for him, because by the time that I think we're going to be a contender, he's going to be at the tail end of his career, or at least starting that decline, even though receivers do kind of have more longevity than running backs, but it definitely hurts a little bit, but I definitely understand why.
Yeah, and me, I talked about it, and it was last episode or episode before, whatever it was. It seemed like a pretty easy tag, and then you can tag and trade him, or maybe move on with him in the season if you can figure something out long term. But obviously, it's not happening. It's strange that it's just not going to be at least a tag and trade. It seemed really like Kenny Golladay was the perfect candidate for it. It changes the trajectory of this offseason a little bit for the Lions. So I was always big on them. Just getting kind of best player available, and odds are that was going to be a guy like a Micah Parsons at that 7 spot. But now maybe you prioritize receiver a little more, because right now Tyrell Williams is the number 1 and Quintez Cephas is the number 2. I don't think there are going to be big players in free agency for a wide receiver. So if you can get a young talent, like if Jamar Chase falls, or if you want to go for a Devontae Smith or Jalen Waddle to get that young kind of guy to replace him, it makes a lot more sense now. I really wish they could have, even if they could have just tagged Kenny Golladay and gotten like a mid to late round pick for him just to get something back in return, like that would have been great. It's a little disappointing.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. But as a Golladay owner as well in Dynasty, it seems like I own every big name wide receiver because I do. But I'm pretty happy if he goes to like the Jets and gets with Sam Darnold or Zach Wilson or Deshaun Watson or whoever's the quarterback when they start. That'd be really cool. So hoping that happens. But guys, we'll now move into our 2021 NFL Draft quarterback rankings. How this is going to work. I'm going to let someone go. What's going to happen? They're going to give us their 1 through 8, give us a little rundown why they have people where. It's going to be, somewhat short, 2 to 4 minutes. Each person will do their list, and then we will start talking about quarterbacks, debating why people are where they should be, if they're better than other quarterbacks, all that kind of stuff. It's going to be more of a debate towards the end rather than, just going one by one. Oh, this is Trevor Lawrence. I have him at 1. Chase has him at 7. Alec has him at 13. All that kind of stuff. Not going to be the case. Right. And I will say this, I don't know about your guys' list, but I'm going to say it for you guys anyways, just to save your ass. My list is subject to change still. After watching tape last night, I have to say I was completely shocked at some of the plays I've seen from some of these quarterbacks, and my list could change after I go watch some more film. I'm definitely going to be doing that, but as of right now, I have the list how it is. I'll let you know why, but it is subject to change. All right. Who wants to start?
Alec.
All right. Well, I also want to start by saying that I agree with Mike. I would like to watch a little bit more film before I give a more solid list, but as of right now, this is where I rank them based on the film that I have watched and the stats I've looked at. But my list is as follows. Obviously, Trevor Lawrence at 1, Justin Fields 2, Zach Wilson 3, Mac Jones 4, Trey Lance 5, Kyle Trask 6, Jamie Newman 7, and Peyton Ramsey at 8. And obviously, the big thing that people are saying is Zach Wilson is number 2, and even Chris Sims put him at number 1. But I still think Justin Fields is the better quarterback because played in a better division, and BYU just had an absolutely nutso line, so it's hard to see what Zach Wilson would be like in the pros. And then I have Mac Jones ahead of Trey Lance, which is another kind of hot take. Obviously, Alabama quarterbacks don't normally pan out that well. But I am not a huge fan of Trey Lance. Mike and Chase both know this. And Mac Jones I think he's different than a lot of these other Alabama quarterbacks. This year, he led college football in QBR and has just looked absolutely insane. And Trey Lance coming from a place like North Dakota State, obviously the last big name to come out of there was Carson Wentz, and he kind of crashed and burned after one good season. I mean, we'll see what he does with the Colts, but so that's another big thing that's kind of iffy for me. And obviously my 6, 7, and 8 are kind of obviously not big names, so those are obviously going to be subject to change and probably different from you guys. So yeah, that's my list.
All right, I like it. Alec did say that Peyton Ramsey was kind of his sleeper, so we'll get more thoughts on him a little bit later in the show. But Chase, we'll let you go now. What is your list looking like? Is it true? Do you actually have Trevor Lawrence at 6?
No, that is not actually true. And I do want to say real quick, I do like that Peyton Ramsey pick, Alec. We talked about maybe like he said, he was your 8th guy. Maybe our 8th is the same. It is not the same, but that is a guy that I have watched and have my eye on and had thoughts about. Regardless, number 1, Trevor Lawrence. He's at least elite in all categories, if not a little better in some of them. There's really no flaw to his game. Number 2, Justin Fields. Really all the traits that you'd be looking for out of a number 1 quarterback. Number 3, got Trey Lance out of North Dakota State. Alec voiced some issues. I've got some stats, some ideas to talk more about him as we get further in depth, so I'll worry about that later. 4, Zach Wilson out of BYU. Tremendous season. He's probably going to go higher than the 4th-ranked quarterback on how he is on my list, but we'll see. Number 5, Mac Jones. Alex just share some thoughts about him. Yet again, I'll share some more as we go on. Number 6, I got Kellen Mond. Kind of surprised Alec did not have Kellen Mond in his top 8 with how much he liked him a year or two ago. Number 7, Kyle Trask he's kind of mad to me. And then number 8 is Dustin Crum out of Kent State.
You gonna give us a little crumb of why you think he's good?
I get it. I can give you. You want me to like just really talk about him now, or do you want me to wait to really talk about him, or just give you a brief little thing right now?
Up to you. I haven't watched any of his films, so I can't
I also
comment
have
on
not.
him.
Okay, so I'll talk about him real quick since you guys don't have anything on him at all. The thing with Dustin Crum is he has crazy arm strength. You know, it's kind of like a Josh Allen, Justin Herbert type level arm strength, where he probably has the strongest arm in this class. It's not always the most accurate. It's not always NFL throws he's making, but he has accuracy. His numbers improved year after year in Kent State. He had an impressive season. They only played 4 games this year. He's just under 1,200 yards, 12 touchdowns, 2 picks. He also ran for 250 and 4 touchdowns. He's got enough athleticism combined with the throwing abilities to maybe be a development then breakout type quarterback in the NFL. But you got to go to the right team that's willing to be patient and teach him the right things.
Cool. Definitely someone I'm gonna have to take a look at tape wise because don't know anything about him, but if he's got that gifted of an arm, I need to be taking a look. But my list now, and before I get into it, I'll say, my goodness, this quarterback class is a lot better than I thought. It's a lot better than
100%.
even being advertised right now, I think. So here's my list. Trevor Lawrence, number 1. God-gifted tools. I mean, come on. I think right now he kind of looks like a baby puppy who's got those really big paws and they're kind of clumsy a little bit. Like, he looks great, no doubt, and he's going to be able to start right away. But just everything isn't super smooth and consistent on him yet. And I think he'll grow into that. And he can get away with that because of how gifted he is when it comes to all his attributes and his talent. Then this is where it gets really tough for me. I've got Fields ranked 2. However, like I said before, subject to change. The only reason I have Fields over Zach Wilson is because of competition. Fields has some of the best attributes in this draft, could be the best. I would put Trey Lance up against him. And I just absolutely loved the moxie that he showed in that game against Clemson. Got smoked and came back, looked great. Number 3, Zach Wilson. I was shocked, honestly, when I watched this film. People talk about Patrick Mahomes and talk about Aaron Rodgers when looking at this guy. I was like, there's no way in hell. I am sick of the disrespect Justin Fields is getting. I'm going to put Zach Wilson in the dirt. Then I watch him and watch some of his film, and he does look like Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers, I have to say. So little shocked by that. Then we got Mac Jones at 4, so damn consistent. Reminds me of a less athletic Joe Burrow. Really good in the pocket, really good passer. Trey Lance, the only thing that worries me about him, he's great. All his attributes are phenomenal. The one thing that worries me, have we even seen enough football from him? Like, I don't know if he can do it because he's only done it for just over like 10, 15 games. So I do worry about that. Kellen Mond's my 6. I agree with you, Chase. Trask is my 7. I agree with you there as well. You're not going to agree with me with my number 8 because you said you didn't even have him in your top 15. Give me Ian Book at 8. Ian Book, when I was watching some of his film, he just screamed Baker Mayfield to me. A guy who can extend the play in and outside of the pocket. A guy who's super accurate. He doesn't have a great arm. He's not the most athletic guy. He's a little small. But he's a guy that just reminds me of like a Baker Mayfield, and I think he could easily jump around the league, be a backup for many, many teams, and maybe even get a chance to start.
Ian Book is Baker Mayfield if Baker Mayfield forgot how to throw the football.
Ian Book is great when it comes to his accuracy, the way he can extend the play when he's getting rushed. He is a lot better than you think. When was the last time you watched his tape?
I don't know, 2 months ago?
Yeah, don't look at stats.
I'm not talking about stats. Like, he moves around fine. I watched multiple Notre Dame games this year, and I remember like he's great extending the play. That's sure he moves around well, but he's not like he just doesn't have the arm to be an NFL quarterback. He doesn't make NFL throws. He doesn't throw into tight spaces. He doesn't lead receivers. His arm is just average at the college level, and his mobility could allow him to maybe, if he had to go in a spot start, maybe do some things, but he couldn't be a prolonged starter. Like, there's just no chance.
Okay, listen, Josh Allen fanboy. We get it. If someone doesn't have a strong arm, you think they're the worst quarterback in the league. He's got the accuracy.
It's not that. It's okay accuracy. It's not actually anywhere near the guys above him on the list.
No, that's why he's my number 8. If he had accuracy above the guys.
So it's not great accuracy. It's not even good accuracy. That's just fine accuracy.
Okay, but you're going to tell me about this guy from Kent State, and you said he's got a strong arm, but his accuracy is a little inconsistent. Like, don't come at me.
Yeah, he's got a better arm than Ian Book by a mile and a half.
Don't come at me about accuracy,
But he got a better arm by 30 miles. Not even close.
Okay, and he's got worse accuracy by 30 miles. What's up?
He doesn't. 73.5% completion percentage is here if you want to go just off stats.
Yeah, for Kent State. Who'd they play?
Buffalo.
All right, well, let's dive into some of these guys.
Okay, well, I'll worry about that later.
Yeah, worry about it later. Trevor Lawrence, I mean, we all have him as our number 1. Did anyone at all think about not having him at number 1?
No, I could. If there was one person take over the number 1, it would be Zach Wilson, even though I have him at 4. If I'm really projecting at the absolute ceiling, but I'm trying to do a mix of projecting ceiling and like how they would be just as like their median.
I have leaps and bounds. He's better in my opinion. I do agree. Watching some of Zach Wilson's film, it would make sense why maybe Chris Sims would put him up there. But like you said, it's the whole competition thing for me. Like Trevor Lawrence playing in arguably the best division in college football and just absolutely running the table, looking like an already pro-ready quarterback. You can't beat it.
Yeah, I have to say, I've thought about it. I've thought about putting Zach Wilson at number 1. Just like, if you haven't watched his tape, I urge you to do that because he looks like Patrick Mahomes on the field. He can extend the play in the backfield like Mahomes can. He can make the off-platform throws like Mahomes can. He has the weird arm angles. He has such a quick release. And it's just crazy to think about, like, just how good he is. However, I have to say, I think the ceiling for the two quarterbacks, I think Zach Wilson's probably closer to his ceiling than Trevor Lawrence is. Because I feel like Trevor Lawrence still, like I said, looks kind of like a puppy. Looks like some of the stuff isn't really coming clean together. Once that does, it could be absolutely crazy. But we'll now talk about that number 2 spot. I think we all had Fields there. Any question marks around Fields at number 2?
So my thing with Justin Fields, I debated putting him even as far down as number 5 at points on this. And like, it's not that far fetched because he's a really good quarterback. He's got these good traits. He's athletic in terms of how Russell Wilson is, behind the line of scrimmage, moving around. But the decision making isn't always there. He doesn't sometimes, he'll see his first read and then the second they're not open, he'll run because usually at Ohio State, your first read's open because it's such a talented team. So when that doesn't happen, he panics a little bit and he tries to move around and extend the plays and maybe force the ball. And that's where you see the mistakes. So he's not always accurate, not always the best decisions. But when we see him play at like his high level, holy hell, it's just ridiculous. It's all about finding a team that can kind of, buff out those rough edges, make him focus on that high level of the game, focus on those things that he does well, really elevate those, and he can become special.
I definitely agree. Like all aspects, I do agree that he tends to force passes a lot. One other thing that I noticed while watching film, he did this a lot in the game against Clemson. Even though he did win and still played stellar, he doesn't throw his receivers open. He waits for them to be open. Like I don't remember. I remember there was a play where if he threw the ball, I think it was like maybe a second or two earlier, he would have had an easy 60-yard TD. But he waited until the receiver had already had the separation and already got open to throw the ball, and he ended up underthrowing him. So he can't throw the receivers open, which makes me a little nervous. It's just something I feel like you can learn. You just got to trust your receivers that they're going to be open, and it may be easier if you have that number 1 receiver in the NFL once you start there. And the other thing is, along with forcing the ball downfield, he doesn't take his check down. He either runs or he just tries to throw it deep to a guy who's covered. You need to learn to take your check down if you don't have anything deep, or instead of just immediately going to running or just trying to throw it down trying to throw it deep down the field.
Yeah, and I've definitely seen that, what Alec was talking about with kind of the anticipation, I guess, throwing your receivers open. Because in the Indiana game, I think it was, he had a slot post, and if they had a single high safety, if he throws it as the slot receiver is breaking off of his corner, he's got a touchdown. However, he waited a second or two. That single high safety was able to come back, and it turned into an interception. So I definitely see where you're coming from there. I also see a lot of stuff about Justin Fields being a one-read quarterback. I watched the Clemson Ohio State game, fully, because Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields, two of the quarterbacks. In that game, he was not a one-read quarterback. Maybe that's just because that was his best game of the season. He had incredible moxie and stuff, but I don't really see that. If I watch more tape and that ends up being the case, he might drop down a little bit. But right now, I absolutely love him. And Fields and Wilson, they're my 2A and 2B right now. Easily could switch. But we'll talk about Zach Wilson now. I guess the main thing I want to get at is Alec and I both have him at 3. Chase, why do you have him at 4?
So it's like it's kind of tough. Like, I really like all 5. My top 5 quarterbacks, I just want to say, I think all 5 of these guys are top 15 picks and like at least worthy of it. So it's all really close. The differences between these quarterbacks are not as large as I thought they were in the first place. So really, it just comes down to preference and what I think I can do with the quarterback at the next level. So Trey Lance, I have above Zach Wilson. I think Zach Wilson can be a great NFL quarterback. I think he legitimately can be a quarterback that helps you win a Super Bowl. I don't know. I've talked about, maybe if he reaches his true absolute ceiling, which I think it could be the best quarterback in this draft class, but I think that'd be hard for him to reach. If he reached that, then great. But I think more realistically, he's going to cap out, kind of like how you mentioned, at a little bit higher than where he is right now. He's probably one of 2 NFL-ready starters out of this draft class, him and Trevor Lawrence. So, he'll get an opportunity and he'll look good wherever the hell he goes, and he's going to have a lot of success. It just... arm strength isn't like a necessity really in the NFL anymore. If you don't have that just rocket arm, you can get the ball 10, 15 yards on field, let your guys make plays. And he's good at getting those balls into awkward spaces. It's kind of like the Joe Burrow thing. Joe Burrow, he kind of came out of nowhere, had an unreal season, had the best college season ever, and went first overall. Zach Wilson did that kind of on a light level. Like, it always is a little concerning, just coming off of a year of awkward production, then just blossoming at this age. So if you want to compare Zach Wilson to Joe Burrow in that aspect, then that's fine. But he did everything at a lower level than Joe Burrow, to me personally. So that's why I'm just kind of iffy on having him higher than 4.
The main thing I took away from that is that Ian Book's going to be great, because he said throw power not a necessity anymore.
I was just about to say, did Chase Crawshaw really just say that throw power is not a necessity?
Let's go.
Really?
Like, it matters, but just for example, Drew Brees, he hasn't had a strong arm in quite a few years, and he put up some of his best career numbers in the last 5 years. You can get it done if you have the right weapons around you, but you got to have the right weapons around you. And I'm not saying Zach Wilson has a weak arm. Like, he can still throw the ball 30, 40 yards downfield easy, but if he's got to throw like a Hail Mary to try to win the game, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, I think those 3 guys are all, way, way, way more equipped to do that.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Yeah, I disagree with that.
Because I think Zach Wilson has, obviously Russell Wilson has probably the best deep ball in the NFL, but the way that Zach Wilson throws it is he throws deep balls with touch and poise. He doesn't have the arm strength, get it down there super fast, throw a bullet when the guy beats the receiver, but he can get it over the defense, and he can drop it right into the receiver's arms, which is something I don't think Trey Lance can do. I think sometimes Justin Fields, like I said, that's not something that he tries to do. He doesn't throw the receivers open. Zach Wilson on a deep ball, he has the touch and poise to get it over the secondary to the receiver right into his hands when he needs to, and hit it almost every time.
That's fine, but I'm talking about that's, you can do that 30, 40 yards downfield. But once you start getting further than that, it's just the strength, it just doesn't always get down there is the thing, where those other 3 guys, they will get the ball down there, is all I'm saying.
More often than not, watching film, I've seen him get it down there. I admit, there's a couple throws here and there where he's a little bit short, but more often than not, he's getting it where he needs to get it downfield.
That's where I disagree with both of you. I think he's got an incredible arm. I think he's got the throw power. I mean, I've seen him zip a ball 35 yards downfield, like through linebackers. Like the speed and velocity he had in the ball is great. And I think, and this goes for the top 4 quarterbacks this goes for everyone in the top 5 but Mac Jones. I think all 4 of these quarterbacks have supreme arm talent when it comes to like strength. Like I don't think any of these guys are, tapping out at the 40, 50 yard mark. I think these guys all have really good arms. None of them compare to Josh Allen. I think the strongest arm is Trey Lance. I think he's at the level of maybe Justin Herbert was last year. However, all of these guys most definitely beat Tua and Joe Burrow in the arm strength category. I think that Lawrence, Fields, and Zach Wilson are all on that same playing field when it comes to arm strength, from what I've watched.
Interesting.
I admit, like in like the middle of the field, like when he's throwing like those medium passes, he definitely has that zip on the ball that you want. Like honestly, there were certain times like you were comparing him to Mahomes and Rodgers, but when I watch him, I see some like Matthew Stafford, but a little bit more mobile. That's honestly the type of player that I see Zach Wilson as, minus like the super downfield arm strength. When I say like Matt Stafford, I mean like in the medium when he's trying to like throw it between the 2 linebackers or get it like in really tight spaces. I see him doing that in like the close to middle range. So I definitely recognize that, but I'm just saying like the downfield velocity, I feel like it isn't there like with Trevor Lawrence and Justin Fields. But I'm not saying that he can't make those throws. I'm just saying that he throws them with more touch and poise than like with pure arm strength.
Yeah, I feel that. I don't know if you guys watched the Boise State game. I think you should if you haven't, just because that's where I was like, oh my gosh, this is like a Mahomes style of play. And I'm not saying that Zach Wilson's going to come out and be Patrick Mahomes, obviously. But the way he's able to move around, the way he's able to make the off-platform throws. Like, I saw him throw 3 balls in the Boise State game where his feet weren't on the ground. Like, who does that? And that's even kind of a gripe for me, too, because he had plenty of time to get his feet planted. He just likes making the flashy play, so a little bit of a gripe there. But let's now move on to Trey Lance, guys. Chase is number 3 quarterback. Alec and I both have him at number 5. Chase, what makes you so in love with Trey Lance? What makes you think that he can do it at the next level other than, like he's got all the attributes, but is there something that makes you think, okay, he's definitely got it for the next level?
So the biggest argument I see against Trey Lance is he's doing it at the FCS level. I think the talent level you're playing against in college is honestly just a bunch of malarkey. I really don't think it matters that much when you show you can do it. It's kind of like Zach Wilson playing at BYU. Sure, it's still Division I, but their best opponent was Coastal Carolina this year, who's been a Division I program for 5 years. Granted, they had an unreal season. They ended up beating BYU, but like there wasn't a hard schedule by any means. And Trey Lance, he's down at the FCS level, and that's also not a hard schedule compared to his talent level. But at the same time, they're not a classically great receiving core or a great tight end core or a great running back group. They find success at the quarterback position. They find success on defense. So Trey Lance, he had to try to get it done with mediocre weapons on offense, just to be honest. And he rarely, if ever, made a bad throw. You could argue in this game this year against Central Arkansas, he had some struggles throwing the ball, still made some great plays. My issue with that game is, it's a 1-game recency bias. It was a COVID season. They didn't play any games prior to that. There wasn't much training camp. They practiced for like 2 or 3 weeks prior. Maybe the offense is different because the whole team just seems a little different than from the games I watched from the previous season. Regardless, Trey Lance, he has the side, he has the arm strength, he has the speed. He does have the compete level. He does have the accuracy. It might not be necessarily Zach Wilson or Mac Jones level accuracy, but he does have accuracy. He can get the ball where he needs to. He can lead his receivers. He hasn't shown me anything that he can't have success in the NFL. He's like Josh Allen, but further down the development trajectory, I guess, than Josh Allen was as a draft prospect.
I'm going to probably touch on this later when we get down to our lower prospects, but I absolutely hate when people are like, oh, he's just brushing the rust off, or this team looks different, or anything like that with someone like Trey Lance when he played one game and just did not play well. Because you look at Jamie Newman, he's getting a bunch of flack for not doing well in the Senior Bowl when it's literally an offense that he's never played in because it's a Senior Bowl. Like it's not it's just something he's coming into having not played all season, and he's going in, and then they're complaining that he didn't do well. It's players he's never played with, a system he's never played in, and he's getting a bunch of flack. But why is it any different for Trey Lance? He's getting like it's like a cop out in my opinion. People are like, oh, it's all rust. Like he did well before, but now that his one bad game, it's rust. But with Jamie Newman, it's like, oh, he's garbage because he couldn't play well in the Senior Bowl. So I don't like that as an argument for his bad game. He had a bad game. Let's leave it at that.
I mean, I agree with what you're saying on Jamie Newman. Like, I don't think he should be getting that kind of hate because I debated putting him in my top 8. I just decided not to because I like Dustin Crum a little more. Because Jamie Newman's got talent, but it is a real thing. Only having like a couple weeks to practice, like you're training on your own. That's all good and well. But just going into one single game and only a couple weeks practicing as a team, it makes it challenging. Going to the Senior Bowl, for example, the guys that have success at the Senior Bowl are the guys who have been healthy all season, been playing all season. They're in game shape. They just played 9, 10, 11, 12 games, and they go and have more success there. The guys that don't have success are the guys that are injured, the guys that didn't get as much playing time for whatever reason. They go, and we saw what happened with Jamie Newman. So, I'm all for what you're saying there, but I do think it is a thing. I don't think it's, just the most important thing. Regardless, even if you want to say I wasn't rust for Trey Lance, his one bad college game, and you said, Mike, you talking about his body of work, he played maybe one less game than Mac Jones in his football career in college. Honestly, their body of work is pretty similar.
Yes,
that's a fair point.
Mac Jones did play in the SEC and broke NCAA records. He broke NCAA records.
That's great. No, I think I'm not taking away anything Mac Jones did, but I really don't think it matters against the talent level. We've seen so many great NFL players, NFL quarterbacks come from smaller schools. You don't have to come from the Alabamas, the Clemsons, just to be a great NFL quarterback.
Let me ask you then, do you think Mac Jones has a lower floor than Trey Lance?
No.
Okay. So I don't either. And I think it's based on the type of quarterback that they are. That's why I am concerned with Trey Lance's 17 games and not concerned with Mac Jones, not only because of level competition, but also just what I see on field. I think Mac Jones might have the second highest floor in this draft class, whereas his ceiling is 5th out of the 5 guys we've talked about.
I agree.
I think Trey Lance has the lowest floor out of the 5 quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
His ceiling, I think it could be number 1. However, I'm more comfortable putting it number 2 or number 3 right now, just because I think Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence's just God-gifted abilities, their size, their arm, athleticism, the way they read the field, the way they see the field. I think I'd be more confident putting them there, but Trey Lance easily could have the number 1 ceiling in the draft. So I think that's the difference between Mac Jones and Trey Lance for me, is just the way they play is very different. And it's very easy to have a Tom Brady be good in any system than it is a Lamar Jackson in any system. Not saying that Trey Lance is a Lamar Jackson, but he's a more mobile Josh Allen with a less talented arm. Not much less, but Josh Allen's arm is unbelievable.
Yeah, Josh Allen has a ridiculous arm. It's probably, it's for sure top 3 in the NFL, I would say. And Trey Lance is, if he, were to hit his ceiling, it could be a top 3 NFL arm talent. It'd be, top 5 would be safer. But in terms of athletic starting quarterbacks, really the only guy behind, they'd be ahead of him, would be Lamar Jackson. Trey Lance as a runner is just absolutely incredible. And he throws the ball well too. So the floor is low because you can go to a team that doesn't build that offense around you and then you just get screwed. We've seen that thing happen with quarterbacks all the time. But I think GMs and owners and coaches are just too smart nowadays to take a guy like this and not be willing to build around him. Like we saw it up in Baltimore, building a whole new offense for Lamar Jackson worked out. He won an MVP. If you take a guy like this, you know that you're going to be ready to take a couple years, change your offense, and build your team that certain way. GMs are just too smart nowadays not to.
So that's my biggest gripe with Trey Lance, though, because the fact that he's not obviously I have him 5, and I'd still take I'd take the other 4 over him. If I for the Lions right now, if we were drafting a quarterback, I would take the 4 above him over him because I don't want to have to completely rebuild a team. And looking at some of these teams that I've seen him mock to, their team, they already have good aspects, and the aspects that they have that are good aren't going to fit Trey Lance well. Like I've seen like once or twice him mock to the Panthers. I've seen like that's not the play style that he would fit well in. And obviously their offense is already built around Christian McCaffrey. Meaning that if he went in there, they're going to build their offense around Christian McCaffrey, and Trey Lance is going to be their like kind of like complement to him. And that's not good, because if that happens, then I think he's going to have a not good, like he's not going to have a good NFL career, because he needs a mentor QB, I think, to start. And unless the Panthers want to bring in someone like Alex Smith, Teddy Bridgewater's not going to mentor a guy like Trey Lance. That's not the type of guy that he like player or guy that he is, you know. So you need like that really big mentor, and you also need a coach who is proven with developing young quarterbacks. And Matt Rule, I love him. I know Mike's a huge Matt Rule guy, but he's fresh out of college. Like he's not gonna he's fresh out of being a college coach, so he's not gonna be like that quarterback development guy. And also, I'm not denying that Trey Lance's arm talent is there, and obviously I literally have in my notes that Trey Lance is the best running quarterback in this draft, like leaps and bounds. No one's touching him. But he's the one that I've watched the most film about, because he's also the one I'm most skeptical about. And I don't see you're saying he's throwing these guys open. I don't see that as much. I don't see as much touch or poise, or I'm using that a lot. I said it earlier, but I don't see it as much as in these other quarterbacks. There's no denying that he probably has the highest ceiling when it comes to arm talent in this draft, even over a guy like Trevor Lawrence, which is nuts. And I'm not saying that he can't pan out, but I think he is the type of quarterback who needs like a absolute perfect situation to hit his ceiling. Like guys like Trevor Lawrence, Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, they don't need that perfect situation to hit their ceiling. They need a good situation, obviously. Every quarterback does. But a guy like Trey Lance, there's only one or two teams that I think he could go to and actually have the possibility of hitting his ceiling.
And Mike, before you say anything, I just want to say this real quick. I've been thinking about this whole time that you've been talking. It's one of the first things you said. You said you wouldn't want the Lions rebuilding their whole team, like rebuilding their offense. Why the hell wouldn't you? This team isn't going to be good for 3-4 years anyway. They're the perfect candidate to build a whole brand new offense. You got a young rookie. I mean, really, he's a true rookie head coach. He had some experience in Miami, but that was just for a few games. He's a rookie head coach. He can bring in a quarterback. Anthony Lynn is great with quarterbacks. He can build an offense. They can build this offense that's perfect for Trey Lance while transitioning. You still have Jared Goff. You know, it'll be heavily throwing in the first year, some running, and then the second year you start transitioning to Trey Lance. You run the ball a little more, but you still throw it. And then year 3, you have a Baltimore Ravens light style offense where they throw the ball more, run a little less, but there's enough running where it's more than most other teams in the league. The Lions are the perfect team for that.
But see, that's not Anthony Lynn's play style. You look at all the teams that he's been on in the past.
You adapt as an NFL coach.
Well, I understand that you adapt, but like he's been in the NFL for I don't know how many years, for a while, and that's not the type of play style that he has. And I don't think that he'd fit well in an Anthony Lynn offense.
You'd be surprised.
Maybe. All right, if he proves me wrong, maybe I hope the Lions draft him, so he can prove me wrong. And if that's the case, they end up doing that well, then all the power to you, and I'm happy that they went with it. But as of right now, I would take the other 4 above them.
You owe me a cake if it happens.
Okay, deal.
I got 3 things here real quick. First, breaking news, Allen Robinson tagged by the Bears. So yet another wide receiver off the free agency market. Number 2, don't disrespect my boy Matt Rule like that ever again.
I didn't disrespect him. I said I love Matt Rule. I said I love him, but he's not like when I say I want a proven like quarterback developing coach. Matt Rule's not a proven quarterback developing coach. I'm talking about like someone like Andy Reid, or like you know what I mean by that? Like I love Matt Rule. I think he's going to be a head coach in the NFL for a long time, but he's just not a developmental kind of.
Yeah, I feel you, but I mean, I think that old Joe guy in the offensive coordinator position could be a little bit of help for the young kid Trey Lance.
That's okay.
Also, you said that every quarterback needs at least a good situation to pan out. Look at Joe Burrow, checkmate.
You got me there.
So there was something else I wanted to talk about after that with Trey Lance. The Panthers. I actually think that's a good situation because
Agreed.
I think that. I agree. Teddy Bridgewater is not a great mentor quarterback. That's why you just go trade a 6 for Chase Daniel because he's getting a lot of buzz.
Let's go. Let's do it.
And then he can be that mentor. But also, I think if you have a good running back and a game plan built around the running back, that takes less stress or take some stress off of the quarterback. And I think that helps rather than hurts. But we could see. But let's move on to Mac Jones here. And then after we talk a little bit about Mac Jones, I want to talk about the top 5 guys and how soon we think they will be able to start / when we think they should start. Should someone sit out for a couple games? Should someone sit out for a whole season? Stuff like that. But Mac Jones first. I want to start with Chase because Chase, when we were doing our mock draft, we talked about how we think Mac Jones goes in the first round, even if we don't think he's worth that first round pick. I think we both changed our mind easily and see that this kid's got a hell of a lot of talent.
Oh, 100%. I mentioned earlier in the show that I think all 5 of these quarterbacks in the top 5 are easy top 15 picks at this point. And honestly, I wouldn't have thought that at first with Mac Jones. I watched some games live during the season. Not as many as I wanted to, but I watched a couple. And, he made nice throws, sure. He did better than I thought Tua did as a college quarterback at Alabama anyway. So he was good. He'd hit his receiver, but at the same time, Devontae Smith would go on and make big plays. When he had Jalen Waddle was making plays. So you kind of think that's kind of sugarcoating it. But then you go back and you actually, watch the film and you watch it break down a little bit. And you realize, okay, he's just hitting everybody. It just is the truth. He's not missing on his throws. If there's an open guy, he's finding them. If there's not an open guy, he's creating them open. So Mac Jones, he has just incredible accuracy. He reads the field a lot better than I thought he did. My only thing is he doesn't have a very athletic build. If you look at the dude, he does not look like he's about to be an NFL quarterback at all. And I don't want to put that too much on a guy because it shouldn't make a huge difference, but it does make a bit of a difference. It kind of takes away from athleticism, from him being able to escape out of the pocket, from him being able to kind of extend the play. And in the NFL nowadays, that's a huge thing. Teams are looking for that out of their quarterbacks. So you're not going to get that out of Mac Jones. He's not throwing piss missiles down the field. So it really just, what kind of offense you're running and the kind of plays that you're calling, you're not always going to be able to get Mac Jones to be able to really run them, I guess. But if he goes to a team like what the Patriots, have done for years, like what the Bucs did last year, it could work so well for a guy like Mac Jones.
Yeah, and real quick before I go to you, Alec, I was watching Chris Sims and his ranking, and he was talking about Mac Jones, and he said similarly to what you just mentioned that he looks like a dork in his jersey. He does not look like a star quarterback. And
he does not.
There's one player that just comes to mind every time I think of it. Great accuracy, great field general, looks kind of like a dork, but still gets it done. Tom Brady. I mean, how dorky did that dude look in his jersey before he got this big glow up with Giselle? He was a dork, and I mean, when you look at his combine tape. Oh my gosh, that screams dork to me.
That screams accountant to me.
And Mac Jones, I think, is in a similar boat. He doesn't have the best arm. He lacks mobility in the new age quarterback. He can get it done if he needs to. He's not going to be like a Big Ben or a Phillip Rivers. He's going to be able to get out of the pocket, but he does lack mobility in comparison to the more modern day quarterback. But he's just got the accuracy. He can read the field. So I really like him. Alec, you're in the same boat as me. We both have him at number 4. Why do you like him so much?
I like him because, you're the saying, jack of all trades, master of none. I think that's Mac Jones. He does everything good, but nothing great. But I do think if you gave him one thing that's great is his vision. I think he has the best vision out of any quarterback in this draft class. You look at the way he reads a field, he goes through every single one of his possessions and still has enough time to throw and hit his receiver, which I absolutely love. Also, I mentioned earlier he had the highest QBR in college football, and that's not hard when you're playing in Alabama and have 2 receivers that are likely going to go in the top 10. But like you said, he's hitting every throw that he makes. He knows who to throw to, knows when to throw to them, and I think that he's going to be kind of like a Ryan Tannehill, someone that he's not going to be the star of your offense, but he's going to be that support guy. I think you could throw him into a team with a great running back and just solid receivers, and he can thrive and perform. I don't think he's going to be the kind of guy throwing 40, 50 passes a game. I think it'll be 20 range in the NFL, and I think he's going to perform just fine, be a starting caliber quarterback for a majority of his career. And I also think that he's going to be probably the best Alabama quarterback to come out of the draft, and since I can remember, because
Yeah,
he looks way better than anyone that I've seen.
for sure. And he set the NCAA record for passing completion too, which is asinine. I think it was like 77 point something percent. Absolutely crazy. But this is where I want to talk about, when can these guys start? If you were the GM and you were bringing these guys in, when can they start? So let's start with Trevor Lawrence. When can Trevor Lawrence start? Chase, you can go first.
Day one, that's obvious. There's nobody really more built to start day one as an NFL quarterback, in my opinion, than Trevor Lawrence. You might say someone has more just complete ready tools, but like Trevor Lawrence has enough ready tools and enough promise where there's just no reason you would even consider sitting him.
Yeah, Alec?
100% agree. Day one, no doubt.
Easily a day one starter for me as well. Let's move on to Justin Fields. When can he start for you guys?
I think that he should be like a Herbert situation, like maybe sit out the first few games of a season, then finish it out, especially if he goes to a team like the Jets, who's obviously not going to perform all that well. I think he should sit out for a little bit, like maybe first 5-6 games, and then see what he has, if it's really going to be a lost season for them. But if he did start day one, I don't think he'd necessarily be bad. I think he might have some growing pains here and there, but I definitely think that he should take just a little bit of time, but not like a whole season.
Gotcha. And Chase, let me cut you off real quick. I don't want you to think about where they are projected to go currently, because a lot of us think Atlanta Falcons, and if Matt Ryan's still there, he shouldn't start year one because Matt Ryan obviously polished. So don't think about projections. Just think about the quarterback himself. How long do they need before you think they can be a very good, capable starter?
So I think Justin Fields would be like, I think he would benefit heavily from sitting a year. I don't think he has to. You could always go with the Justin Herbert route, and you could puncture your starting quarterback so long so you can let Justin Fields start. So that's always something that could happen. But I think like if he could sit a year, that'd be great. If you're in a situation where you might need to make that change, I think after 5-6 games, he's good to go. It's kind of sitting back and learning, how to be a pro, learning NFL offenses, just kind of getting an understanding of the receivers, the talent around you. It's not going to be as easy as it was as Ohio State. Playing against Big Ten defenses, they never guard the pass well since it's such a run-heavy conference. So when you have Justin Fields throwing the ball over the place, it's hard to defend. It's going to be different in the NFL. Teams are going to be ready for it. So he's got to kind of adjust. As I said, if he sits a whole season, that's fantastic. If he has to go in 5-6 games, he'll do just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And breaking news here, the Atlanta Falcons have brought in the Chargers team doctor. Big movement there. No, but I think he would benefit in a similar position. I think more of a Tua route rather than a Herbert route. I think he needs just a little bit more time than the 3 or 4 games, not even that Herbert.
2 games, right?
Yeah, something. It wasn't very long, but I agree with you guys. 6 games, 6 to 8 games, he can learn the playbook. He can be practicing for quite a bit before he gets his first time snap. Make sure he's got that confidence before he goes in. I agree there. All right, let's move on to Zach Wilson. When can he start? We'll go with Chase first.
I think he's a day one starter. I think him and Trevor Lawrence are the only 2 day one starters in this draft class. I think he's going to end up in a situation where he's going to have to be that guy anyway. So that's going to be just a bigger benefit. But like he's ready. He's got the throws. He's got the talent. So why not let him start?
I agree. I'd love to see him start day one. He's electric, fun to watch. And I can't wait to see him in an NFL jersey.
Yeah, I think he's a day one starter as well. And honestly, he's slowly becoming my favorite quarterback in the class. And right now he's not there. But, I mean, I've talked about him earlier on in the episode. And now, like, every time I watch him, he's so exciting. But we'll move on to Trey Lance. When can Trey Lance start? Alex, start with you.
I actually have in my notes, I think he needs to sit for between 1 and 3 seasons, at least 1, if not more. I think it could go well for him if he had like an Aaron Rodgers situation, sitting under a great quarterback and then coming up, but no chance he starts in his first season. And if he does, it's not going to go well.
Well, 3 seasons is just ridiculous. You don't spend a first round pick on any player to not play him for the first 3 seasons.
Aaron
so
Rodgers.
because the Packers are stupid. There's a reason they're not winning Super Bowls. There's a reason that they're good enough, but
Is that a reason
to get
why
where they
Aaron
are, they're
Rodgers
not
won
going
a Super
further.
Bowl?
He won one Super Bowl, and then they just took what's his nuts. Oh, I get what you're talking about. I kind of forgot about that. That happened. That he sat behind Brett Favre for that long.
Yeah.
All right. So GG's. All right. I'll raise my drink to that one. I thought you were referencing Jordan Love. I honestly completely forgot that Aaron Rodgers was there that long with Brett Favre.
Yeah.
But regardless, yeah. If he can sit a year, that's fantastic. Let him odds are he's not going to an offense that's completely ready for that type of quarterback. So if he can sit behind a year on a transitioning team, that's great. If he goes to an offense that might be a little more ready for it, still sitting a year is just going to be beneficial. It'll just let him get more practice, more reps in at a little bit higher level, some more talent around him. So, yeah, a year really was what my answer is.
Yeah, I think a year as well. I think if he's not capable of starting after 1 year, you got to move on, honestly. Like, I'm not saying he's got to be great in year 2, but if he can't even start over like a Teddy Bridgewater or something, that's a problem. So I give him 1 year. I think he'll be ready after a year. So we'll see.
Real quick, I do want to say if he goes to a team like Carolina and they have some struggles, like he'll play games this year just out of necessity, because like Teddy ended so bad last year. They're gonna keep him because they don't really have many options, especially since like they're not gonna be able to trade for D-Watts like they want to. So if Teddy shows any signs of struggles, they'll just turn it over to whoever they draft, because they will draft a quarterback at that point.
I think no matter who he goes, still he'll see the play field or the field. Kind of like how Patrick Mahomes did, Alex Smith was doing great. However, they let Patrick Mahomes play the last game. Was it just the last game or last 2 games?
Yeah,
I don't know.
it was
Either
week
way.
17.
I think he sees the field no matter what. I think that he needs a season to be groomed, though. All right. Finally, Mac Jones. How long will it take for him to see the field? Chase, your thoughts on that?
If he can sit a year just to kind of like adapt a little more to NFL offenses, playing on like for Bama, it's such a powerhouse of a team. Odds are he's not going to a powerhouse of an NFL team. So if he can sit for a year and just fully prep himself to be an NFL quarterback, really get into shape, build some muscle, get a little bit quicker, that'd be perfect. If you had to throw him in the season, I don't think he'd have too much of an issue. He might show some struggles. He's not going to be as accurate as he was at Bama, but he could get it done. But if you can keep him on the bench for a year, perfect.
I think he has the ability to start right away, but I think it would be best for him, like Chase said, to sit a year. But if he did end up starting, I don't think he would be that bad.
Yeah, and I have him as a day one starter. I think with his floor being second in the draft, in my opinion, I think he can easily start. As long as he's got an offensive line, he'll be fine, I think. So there we go. Those are our top 5 quarterbacks. We're running on an hour, so I say that we can leave the other 3 quarterbacks that we mentioned for a later episode. And let's just run through our top 8 again. Alec, we'll start with you.
Alrighty. Trevor Lawrence, obviously. Justin Fields, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Kyle Trask, Jamie Newman, and your boy Peyton Ramsey.
Chase.
Trevor Lawrence, Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Zach Wilson, Mac Jones. Kellen Mond is going to be the sleeper of the draft at the quarterback position. Kyle Trask, Dustin Crum. That was 8, right?
Yep. Kellen Mond could be. I agree. Will he be? I just don't know if he matches up with these other guys. But
yeah, it was a hot take, if anything.
Yeah.
He has the ability, though.
Trevor Lawrence 1, Justin Fields 2, Zach Wilson 3, Mac Jones 4, Trey Lance 5, Kellen Mond 6, Kyle Trask 7, and Chase's boy Ian Book at number 8. Again, all of those are subject to change, except for maybe Chase's, because I don't know. Alec agreed that his are subject to change as well. But I'm very excited for what's coming, because Chase, when we did our mock draft, we were a little bit lower on some of these guys. And what we're going to do is after we finish our rankings, we're going to go through running back rankings, wide receiver rankings, all kinds of fun stuff. After we finish rankings, we're going to go back, do another draft. However, it's going to be a little different. And Alec, we'd like to have you there as well. What we're going to do is we're going to have a couple people. They're going to own a certain number of picks. So, for example, Chase might own 1, Alec 2, me 3, and then Chase 4, Alec 5, me 6. An alternating draft type of thing, and we'll be doing it as us, as if we were the GM. So It's going to be really fun. Chase came up with the idea. Great job, Chase. You're kind of on a hot streak lately. 2 good ideas in the last 4 episodes. That's pretty good for you.
Shut the hell up.
All right, well, that's going to do it for the episode. We hope you guys enjoyed. Let us know what your QB rankings are down in the comments below, or if you're listening on a podcast platform, tweet them at us at WNP Sports Pod. At WNP Sports Pod on Twitter is also where you can stay up to date with all the latest information that's coming out from us. If you want to stay up to date on Instagram or Facebook, those links will be down in the description. If you could, give us a like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube. Hit the bell to turn on notifications. If you're on a podcast platform, if you could, give us a 5-star rating and follow us as well. We would really, really appreciate that. Thank you so much. And as always, we're not professionals.